Hello and welcome. My name is Vakile. We are doing the major pentatonic scale on the fretboard, and we are on mod number 4. The mod number 4 is called the D reducing mod, and it starts on fret number 15. We're dealing with these the roots on the 5th string. So we start on there. Let me just play it. I've shown you the shape on the fretboard on the theory lesson, so you know how it looks. So we go. So it goes. So we are actually on fret number 15, then 15 to 17, 15, 17, and 14, 17, 14, 17, and 14, 16. Okay, so you can easily use the one finger per fret to do that. So or you can use the bluesy method, which is it uses these two fingers only to play scales. Okay, you heard that the bluesy was trying to play up there, trying to refuse to change fingers. So this is the shape, and it's a pretty good shape there. The D reducing mod, which is the G major pentatonic scale. So what we have there in terms of roots, like I said, the root here is on the E string, fret number 15, fourth string, fret number 15. You can take an octave to fret number 2, 17th fret. That's where the other root is. And so you have, and a third, you obviously have a third there on the first string because there's a bend there. That's where you root and third. Now you can take an octave of that third, so that here you also have a third. There's a bend there, so that's a third there. And fifth, here's a fifth. Okay, here's a fifth in the, which is your D. Okay, and the first one is a D, it's a fifth as well, D. Then another D. Okay, so that's what you have in that scale there, and it's quite an interesting shape because it's pretty good to play and pretty easy to play. So in terms of I've done that in terms of told you in terms of frets. That would be 15, 17, 15, 17, 14, 17, 14, 17, 14, 16. Now you can easily play these scales very fast because they're in line. You know, the notes are in line in almost one fret, and the changes of frets is not too drastic here, and it's not too much in a scale. So that's one thing that you have to notice. And in order for you to play them very fast, you need to be using alternate picking. And what happens with alternate picking is you have to place your pick like that, and you just make as little movement as possible either side of the string or either side of a string to make sure you're not wandering far off from the string, and then you come back so quickly that the listeners won't even notice that. So you don't have to move far off the string. I would say a millimeter around the string is very good. It's an ideal situation. And for you to train for that, if you want to train your fingers on the alternate picking, you gotta use one string. Just play one string. Making as little movements as possible, and make sure you're not moving your wrist. So if we were to use our scale, now with this, because the bass is very sensitive, you just have to use some motions of your fingers, just like that. Don't use this much, Just you have to use just a little bit of motion. The bass is very sensitive. So you have to do that. So you can actually. So that's one tip for alternate picking. Just make as little movements as possible, like that. Don't try to do that. If you try to do that, then your hand, which was keeping the noise down by resting on the strings, would be shifting as well. So it would be very difficult for you to mute the strings. So just make it you practice. We'll talk about these techniques in their own rights as well, so that we come up with a method of looking at playing a piece from a technique point of view, scale point of view, chordal point of view, and arpeggio and so forth, so that we know all the angles from which we can play a piece of music. Okay, so this is the thing. So we go back to that. Make sure all the notes are sounding in your scale. If all the notes are sounding, you're good. And then the next thing is to time them in a drum. You can just drum there. You hear that? Once you make a mistake, stop and start all over. So if you make a mistake, don't start from there and continue. Start from the very top or from the very bottom. Say you made a mistake going down, you have to go to the very first note again and start. That makes you see where you're actually making the mistake. It could just be attention. You're not paying attention to your playing, or just that the finger changing there is pretty difficult. So you have to find out what the problem is, and then you can quickly correct it, or you can find methods of correcting it. And as well, you have to watch other players playing. Now, the difficult part of it is when you're playing scales, you might use one method of playing them, but when you're playing a groove or a piece, you might actually use a different type of fingering. And this is so because when you're playing, you're not playing just playing that scale. You're playing other things like arpeggios and triads and intervals and so forth. You're not just playing a scale, straight through and back up and so forth. You're playing what's on your song, So the fingering might be tricky, but make sure you watch other people fingering things. Some people, when they finger things, you don't see what's going on there. So it's pretty good for you to watch what I'm doing here on my fingers. Sometimes the second, on the thick string, the second note may not actually be heard. It is just... It may be a little bit hidden, and that won't be good for you. Thank you very much. My name is Vakile. I'll meet you in the next shape. Tell you what, we're going to enjoy here. We're about to finish. After the next shape, then we can go into the licks that you can find in these shapes. Bye.